put our hands together to welcome sir.
Good morning, General Singh sir, and the distinguished colleagues and friends on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pride privilege to be here to share my experience and thoughts which I have earned over 7 years around the world and in India especially. And I owe a great deal to Airports Authority of India, where I didn't start my career. I was with an American company before, but that was probably the stepping stone which led me to several parts of the world. And I owe so many of my colleagues who are here for the help, assistance and support they gave me in performing my duties wherever I was posted in India. In the next few minutes, would delve into certain aspects, as the topic here I have chosen is Global Air Transport Industry, the devil is in the details. The devil in the details, you all know, is a very fashionable phrase these days, which means that what we see, and as General Singh said, what we see is one thing, but what happens in between and behind the scenes is much different than what our perception is. We in the industry probably see the depth of the situations, but our stakeholders, prominent among them being our passengers or customers. And for airports, I think the two prime customers are airlines and passengers. But before going to my few minutes presentation, I would just like to point out a few commandments in aviation that maybe we are all aware of, but we need to remind ourselves about them from time to time. It's like having driven after 30 years or 40 years, when we leave home, still the parents say drive safely, which doesn't mean that we don't drive safely, but it's like a caution. So I will just give away those 3 or 4 points which come to my mind, which we should always remember as budding officers or people who have earned some experience and expertise. One is, aviation is not a self-serving industry. It is a catalyst for tourism, trade and commerce. I mean, it's not like towards the end of the day we say we have made 1 million bottles of wine, or we have produced 600 cars, or we have nothing to show in terms of any product. So our major product is customer service, which is tangible. You can see if the customer service is good or customer service is bad. So we have to keep that always in mind, that we belong to a service industry and our motto is just to serve. Now, of the 17 SDGs of the United Nations, which are again very important, United Nations wants to accomplish them by the year 2030. Because of COVID, the pandemic, maybe there will be a delay of 3 to 4 years, but all the countries are heading towards achieving those goals. And in India, as you know, Niti Aayog is the one which is seriously looking into this matter and following it up. What is heartening to note that amongst the 17 SDGs, the Strategic Development Goals of the United Nations, 14 are supported by aviation. Now that is a beautiful feeling for all of us to cherish, that of the 17 goals which worldwide we want to achieve, 14 are supported. I'll give you a very simple example. We produced vaccines, so did some other countries. But to spread the vaccine all around the world, we had to bank on aviation. And 640 loads of Boeing 747, equivalent of that load, was distributed around the globe, followed by some small airlines or aircraft carriers carrying it to the remote areas of different countries. So, we may go ahead and do whatever, but unless we have a support of aviation, there is nothing that moves. In fact, I would say aviation is a lifeline of us for the global good. It's a lifeline. Another example which I can instantly comes to mind is the evacuation of about 5,000 stranded Indians from Yemen. Again, it was the aviation that supported it. Of course, the will, the government's wish to do all that is there. But unless we had that means of transport, we could possibly not accomplish all that. The third thing that we have to keep in mind always is that airports are not the destinations. They are transit points. I mean, this may sound very basic, but this was told by no less than Mr. Buckminster Fuller when Tata Committee report came. I'm talking of those days when there was this talk of developing the 4 major airports, Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta and Madras, then as they were called. Buckminster Fuller from the United States had come, and we had the honor and privilege of working with him and seeing him and shaking hands, which was a big deal at that time, where he said that your journey starts from home and your journey finishes at the next home in another country, another city, or the hotel, wherever you're going. Airports take them just as transit points, where you leave one mode of transport, like surface transport, train or taxi or car or whatever, get into air transport, go to the next place, and then again get out and take another mode of transport. My emphasis is that we have to develop airports which are totally painless. This is what Buckminster Fuller said, that it should be painless. It's not the hassle, like sir just pointed out, that each one of us is very anxious when we go to the airport. At least me, when we start from the hotel and go towards the airport, I think twice we check if the passport is there, is the ticket there, haven't I left my foreign exchange in the wallet in the hotel? Those kind of anxiousness comes. And when you reach the destination, again the same anxiety. Why Mr. Kashyap has got the bag, I haven't got mine. So we all feel that everybody is getting his bags, I am not getting. So we are anxious. So our aim should be, when we develop airports here or abroad, and we are into consulting also, the Airports Authority of India, that we make painless airports. No anxiety, they should be stress relievers and not stress promoters. Now, you see, these are very important things which we learned over the years, and this only comes through our experience, hands-on experience. Now, books by Robert Horinjoff, who was like his books, Professor Kanafani's books were like Bibles for us when we were studying airports. I did my thesis on airports before joining Airports Authority. So we used to worship these books, but those books are archaic now. So these are the forums where we have to share our experiences to how we have felt aviation over the last 15, 20, 25 or 30 years. Now, another one last point is that aviation is not Indian aviation, African aviation or American aviation. Aviation is global. So there should be no culture shock when 4 hours from Singapore you drive into Delhi and you find a different world, which, sir, you mentioned as railway stations. At one time, where you just had one stale cup of coffee and a newspaper and a broken bench and all. But we have come very far away from that point. Incidentally, 2 of our airports, Delhi and Mumbai, are amongst the top 100. Of course, Delhi is 35 and Bombay is 56 in the 100 ranking. Otherwise, we are number 1 in South Asia. But just a little beyond the boundary of South Asia, if you go to Southeast Asia, Singapore is number 1 in the world. Now, what stops us in understanding Singapore? Singapore is just next door. Dubai is just next door. I mean, 3 hours from this side or that side. So, while I compliment and take pride in being from a country where we have all 4 airports amongst the top airports, 100 airports of the world, but what stops in making them number 1, number 2, or number 3, if not the world, at least in Asia? So this is something to ponder on as to what is that which is kicking in Singapore and which is not here. After all, we are the ones. I mean, when Dubai terminal was commissioned, I happened to be working with Dubai Aerospace Enterprise, and I was very active in the commissioning of that airport. And mind you, you've all been to Dubai, there was nothing very extraordinary. But what was that which made it extraordinary from an ordinary airport is what we have to pick on. And those nuances, we have to bring them home and integrate them in Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, Bangalore. I mean, the airports which are excellent. Now, I take pride, I mean, a small thing, I was in Brazil a few months back, and people started talking about Hyderabad airport because there is one trolley, for instance, which is IoT, you know, it's on internet. So you load your stuff in the trolley will guide you to the gate, and if there is a minute's change or a gate change position, it happens quite often, you know. It's announced gate number 92, and then suddenly in New York they'll say gate number 33, and that may be 15 minutes walk. But that trolley, the computer mounted on the trolley tells you gate number so and so, and it will guide you through. Same when you are exiting an airport, a large airport. We are talking of very, very large airports. When you claim your baggage, then you are looking for which exit to go. So they are real time, they work, okay, this exit is not so very crowded, taxis are available there. This is not. So the trolley will lead you to that exit where you can even punch. Let's say I've told my wife that I will be exiting at gate number 6, you receive me there. Incidentally, my wife is here, Mala, and I always take her along because this is the only time when I can speak and she listens, otherwise it's the other way around. So it's become a habit now that I take her and I seek from authorities whether I can bring my wife, and graciously it was accepted, okay, you can bring your wife. But the motive was the same, at least she could listen to me for the next 10 minutes. Now, I mentioned to you that we have to be global in our approach. We can't be Indian aviation or African aviation because all of us have worked in, Rakesh is here who had gone with me to Nigeria once, and so many other friends who are now here or they are not. I was looking after the foreign projects and we used to go and travel. And this is what we used to discuss, that if an airport in Tanzania can do so well, why can't we? You know, we have to set our benchmark high. We should not be living in our glory of being the number 1 in South Asia. We want to be in Southeast Asia also. Then we want to be in the region. Then we want to rank somewhere at the global level. That should be our aim. Now I think I'll go with my slides, please. I'll explain to you why I said the devil in the details. As we go forward, we'll see as to what is that. And I must also say, and to the organizers of this function, the FAST, that this is an opportune time and the right time to take stock of what we have done. I mean, 28th of December is almost the end of the year. So we can do some introspection and see as to what we have achieved in this year and what is the way forward for us. So I think I must compliment Mr. Miglani, who is the driving force behind running the show, of course, under the guidance of General Seth and Mr. Agarwal and Raman, of course. So, as we go, let's first take what's the dynamics of air traffic growth. Let us feel good as to where we stand today. If I was a bit critical about our position in the world, it is in good spirit with the pure aim of becoming number 1, number 2 or number 5. In 2005, at the turn of the century, the world airlines and airports handled 4 billion passengers which is 61% of the then global population of 6.5 billion. 61%. Then in 23, which we are still on, 8.6 billion passengers, which is 106% of world population of 8.04. I mean, these are global figures. As I mentioned, let's not have barriers between Indian aviation and global aviation. After all, we belong to the global community of aviation. Okay? In 20, now that, see, from 61% to 106, almost double, within a span of 18 years. Now 2050, global volume of passengers projected by, and the source is there, ACI World Airport Traffic Forecast. Global volume of passengers projected is 23.9 billion or 23 billion, which would be 243% of global population, which is going to be 10 billion at that time, 9.8 billion. Imagine you are carrying the entire world 2.5 times. I mean, that's a beautiful feeling. I think no other mode of transport can claim that. When we talk of aviation, which is the fastest and the largest mode of transportation and the safest also. I mean, if you go by statistics, of course, even 5 people die in a crash, it makes an international news. But here in Shimla, we have buses falling, 50 perished or 200 perished and all. Tomorrow they'll forget, but God forbid if something happens in aviation, even 10 people, it makes a global noise. So that's a matter of pride that, you know, we are taking the globe 2.5 times the size of the globe all around the world. And the corresponding figure then in Indian air traffic volume is estimated to be 1.6 billion, which is 6.9% of the global traffic. Incidentally, the global traffic also has doubled in the last few years, which is again very, very encouraging. And but then, as General Sir said, that we have to be prepared for that. I mean, the whole idea is not to feel good about it, but to say, okay, how we do a course correction so that we are better off 10 years hence or 15 years hence. Traffic will go. It will grow anyway. People after COVID want to travel, they want to see the world before they leave the world. So the idea is how best we can show them so that each visit of theirs anywhere in the world is a great experience. Now let's take a reality check. That's important because if we don't know where we stand today, surely we cannot improve for tomorrow or day after. So the whole idea is to have a quick glance as to where we stand. The 3 events in recent times which had a profound effect on aviation worldwide, I mean which I'm talking in our own professional lives of 20-25 years, is 9/11, which we all remember, we saw what all happened. Then was the economic downturn, which was in 2008, and of course the latest, which was COVID-19. Now amongst all these 3,